Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I know resonates with a lot of you high achievers out there.
Mm-hmm.
This nagging feeling that everything has to be just right before we can even think about moving forward.
Yeah, that pressure.
We're diving into the idea of perfectionism and why it might be the very thing holding us back from making real progress.
And our guide for this is David Adu's really thought-provoking essay, You Don't Have to Be Perfect, Be Bold.
Exactly. It's that familiar pressure, isn't it? Yeah. To have all our ducks in a perfect row, the ideal plan all mapped out before we, dare to take that first step.
It's almost as if we believe there's some secret moment when everything will just magically align. It's quite paralyzing sometimes.
Right. But Adu's essay offers a compelling alternative. The power of embracing boldness, even when things aren't, well, flawless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our mission today is to really get under the skin of Adu's core argument. We want to see how shifting our focus from this pursuit of an often unattainable perfection
Unattainable is a good word for it.
to a mindset that champions boldness can be a genuine game changer,
Mm-hmm.
in all aspects of our lives.
And the source, again, David Adu's essay, You Don't Have to Be Perfect, Be Bold. It's just such a direct challenge to that paralysis perfectionism can bring on.
Okay, so let's jump right into this concept of perfection itself. What's Adu saying here?
Well, one of his key points is that perfection isn't this fixed objective thing we can aim for.
Right.
Instead, it's constantly in flux. It gets shaped by trends, opinions, cultures, expectations. It's a moving target, really.
Absolutely. Think about it. Adu gives examples like how we might define success as, say, a six-figure income 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the cultural conversation shifts, and it's
Right.
all about peace of mind or work-life balance the next.
Exactly. It's like trying to hit a bullseye that keeps moving around the board.
And what really struck me is his observation that the shifting goalposts of perfection are often set by people who don't live your life.
That's such a critical insight, isn't it? These external forces, maybe societal norms, fleeting trends, even just the opinions of people who aren't truly walking in your shoes.
Yeah, they don't get it.
They often become the architects of these, frankly, impossible standards we hold ourselves to.
And that's where Adu positions boldness as a really kind of liberating alternative.
Yes. So what is boldness then, according to Adu? How does he contrast it?
Well, he presents it as more of an internal drive. It's not about waiting for that perfect moment or, getting everyone's approval first.
Okay.
It's that inner conviction that says, okay, look, I may not have it all figured out and things might not be ideal, but I'm showing up anyway.
Ah, I see. So it's a fundamentally different starting point than waiting for that elusive perfect readiness.
Exactly. And this ties directly into one of Adu's, I think, most memorable phrases. The bold start ugly.
Huh. I like that. It's blunt.
It is. And it goes against our ingrained desire for everything to be polished right from the get-go, doesn't it?
It really does. But what's fascinating here is how true that often is in reality. I mean, think about any significant achievement or innovation.
Right.
Did it just appear fully formed and flawless? Almost never.
No.
It usually begins with that initial, maybe messy act of creation, driven by a willingness to simply start with what I have, as Adu puts it.
It almost echoes that fail fast, learn faster idea you hear about, especially in tech, where those early imperfect versions are actually crucial.
Precisely. It's the idea that you don't need this perfectly detailed, risk-free blueprint before you take step one.
You just need, a starting point.
Yeah. Identify your initial point of action, use the resources you actually have right now, and crucially have the courage to ask questions and, learn as you go.
So it's about prioritizing momentum over exhaustive pre-planning, at least initially.
I think so. And Adu doesn't shy away from the fact that mistakes will happen. He clearly states bold people make mistakes, but they also make impact.
That's a vital distinction.
Yeah.
Because perfectionism often breeds inaction precisely because it fears failure.
Right, exactly. Whereas boldness accepts that mistakes are just, well, part of the deal. They're part of the learning and growth process.
Adu shares a couple of stories to really hammer this home, doesn't he? There's the first one about an aspiring agribusiness owner.
Yes, and this person got completely bogged down in the planning stage, just waiting and waiting.
Waiting for what?
For the perfect funding, the perfect market conditions, the perfect business proposal, getting everything lined up just so.
Sounds a bit like analysis paralysis, that thing where you overthink so much you never actually do anything.
That's exactly it. And what's so telling about Adu's story is the time that passed. Years went by while this person was waiting for this ideal scenario.
And in the meantime,
Others, maybe with fewer initial resources but more willingness to just act, they overtook him. He lost years of potential growth, real opportunity, all chasing this illusion of perfect readiness.
wow, that's a powerful cautionary tale, really.
It is. And then Adu contrasts this with the story of a woman who started with just 1 acre of land.
Okay, so no grand strategy, no big investment.
Apparently not, just a piece of earth, and crucially, the willingness to actually start planting something.
When was it smooth sailing for her?
Not at all, and that's the key. Adu mentions she faced failures, she learned from those setbacks, but she kept going.
Through bold action and adapting.
Exactly, and through that consistent process, she not only achieved her goals, but now apparently she even mentors others. Her story just beautifully shows how boldness, not perfection, can be the real catalyst for profound change. It changed her life, as Adu says.
Okay, so after the stories, Adu then shifts to explore the why behind this, the motivations.
Right.
And this bit really struck a chord with me. He says, perfection seeks applause. Boldness seeks purpose. Can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, this raises a really important question about what truly drives our actions, doesn't it? Perfectionism, when you dig down, often has this big element of seeking external validation.
Wanting people to approve.
Exactly. It's rooted in a desire to be seen as flawless, to gain that approval, that "I hope they like me" feeling, as Adu puts it.
Whereas boldness.
Boldness, he argues, comes from a more internal place. It's connected to your personal values, your sense of purpose, more like, this is who I am, or this is what I believe needs doing.
So it's like perfectionism is looking outwards and boldness is looking inwards. Is that fair?
I think that's a great way to put it. Precisely. And this fundamental difference in motivation, it has real consequences.
How so?
Well, Adu argues that perfection waits for validation. It kind of needs that external stamp of approval before it feels it can move forward.
It holds back.
But boldness is inherently proactive. It creates value through action by putting something out there, even if it's imperfect. It marks a shift, from trying to impress people to actually trying to make an impact.
Okay, that makes sense. And naturally, this willingness to be bold, it comes with its own set of rewards, doesn't it? Adu talks about making more meaningful mistakes. What's that about?
It's a fascinating idea, the quality of mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes that come from inaction, from being too scared to try because you might not be perfect. Well, they don't teach you much.
Right. You learn nothing if you do nothing.
Exactly. But mistakes that happen because you took bold action, because you actually tried something, even imperfectly, those become incredibly valuable learning opportunities.
Ugh. So they give you real-world feedback.
Precisely. Feedback that fuels your growth, helps you make better decisions next time.
It's like the difference between endlessly reading about swimming and actually jumping in the pool. You might swallow some water, but that's how you learn.
That's a perfect analogy. And Adu highlights how this accelerated learning, the kind that comes from taking chances, from stepping outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
it leads to developing really crucial qualities, things like resilience, confidence, and what he calls real-life wisdom.
Things you can't get from a textbook, basically.
You really can't. They're earned through navigating the often messy reality of bold action. And Adu rightly points out, these qualities are ultimately far more valuable than any illusion of flawlessness.
Okay, so we see the benefit. How does Adu see this playing out? Where does boldness show up in everyday life? He gives examples, right?
He does, yeah. And it's not just about, launching some huge venture in business. It could just be having the courage to pitch that idea you've been sitting on, even if it's not fully baked.
Okay. What about relationships?
He mentions embracing vulnerability, saying what needs to be said, even if your voice shakes. That takes boldness.
Yeah, that definitely does.
And just in life generally, it's about showing up authentically, embracing your imperfections, your history, your scars and all, as he puts it.
And he suggests this has an effect on others, too. It's not just personal.
Right. What's insightful here is how that authenticity, that courage inherent in boldness, can actually build trust and inspire people. Well, when people see someone acting with real intent, with courage, even if they stumble, it can be incredibly motivating. It draws people in who are also looking for something genuine.
So it creates connection.
Exactly. As Adu concludes, we don't need more perfect people. We need more people who are bold enough to be real bold enough to try, to fail, to get up, and try again.
That's powerful. And this leads us to Adu's really direct message to you, the listener. especially if you've ever found yourself waiting,
Waiting for that mythical right time.
or the perfect moment, or the best version of yourself to finally show up before you actually do something.
Yeah, and this really touches on self-acceptance, doesn't it? Adu's message is so clear, so vital. You're enough, right now, right here.
Not later.
No, not when you have more, not when you know more. It's about recognizing your inherent worth and potential now, with all your current flaws and limitations.
It really feels like a call to arms, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Be bold in your dreams. Be bold in your choices.
Be bold in your belief that your life has value and meaning, even in the messy middle.
I particularly appreciate that last part, the messy middle, because that's where most of us live, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and that really brings us full circle to the core takeaway from Adu's essay. You don't have to be perfect, you just need to be bold.
And he argues this isn't just about personal growth, right? It's bigger than that.
Yes, he frames it as the engine of progress. That's how movements start. That's how lives change. It's the catalyst for real transformation, both for individuals and, collectively.
And for you personally.
On a personal level, embracing boldness is presented as the most direct path to becoming the person you were meant to be. Not flawless, but fearless.
Unlocking your potential by daring to act, learn, grow, without being trapped by that impossible ideal of perfection.
Exactly that.
So, as you move forward today, maybe just consider this. Is there a specific area in your life, right now, where chasing perfection might actually be holding you back? What small, bold step could you take? Maybe even today, even without having all the answers lined up perfectly.
And just think about what that would feel like to prioritize taking action over achieving flawless execution just in that one area.
It's a significant shift in perspective, isn't it? And as David Adu so powerfully argues, it's a shift that can truly be transformative.